All right. Good afternoon again, everyone. As promised, it is 12:05. So we would start, and we would certainly try to keep the time because we know that our new reality is a reality of the digital space, and we know how it is when it comes to webinar and online meetings. So we'll try to keep to time as promised. So welcome everyone again. Layer 3 remains one of the foremost cloud companies, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. And Layer 3 thought it wise to bring together stakeholders, policymakers, and also clients, and also the general public to have a conversation around this topic. Because the reality is that for those of us who are not very technical, what the guys like Layer 3 do, and also those with data centers, they are the guys that make all the apps and all the awesome things, even the Zoom that we're using now, and all the awesome apps that we use, even the banking apps and all the things. These are the guys that behind the scene, they make it possible. So it's a great thing to welcome everyone here. To get this started, I like to bring forward the CEO of Layer 3, Oyaje Idoko, to give us his welcome address, and we could get started. Oyaje, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
CFA, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar, The Future of the African Cloud. Most especially, I'd like to welcome the Director General of NIDA, Kashifo Inua, represented by Dr. Aminu Lawal, SC on Digital Transformation, and all the panelists, as well as all other participants. We're extremely delighted to have you all here. As the theme suggests, the future of the African cloud As the theme suggests, the future of the African cloud is a topic that I believe everyone interested in the future of Africa should be interested and concerned about, especially from a technology viewpoint. This is because cloud computing has become a fundamental requirement for practically all forward-looking organizations and governments. In fact, based on projections from the IDC, worldwide spending on public cloud services and infrastructure is expected to grow from about $371 billion in 2020 to $832 billion in 2025, with Europe and North America contributing more than half of the global cloud computing market. Compare that to just $900 million generated by African public cloud services, according to Zalam Analytics, at the end of 2020. This is less than 1% of the global market share. While the growth rate in cloud adoption in Africa has averaged about 40% since 2017, we still have a lot of catching up to do. So while Africa accounts for about 11% of the world's population and about 5% of its GDP, our position with respect to cloud adoption is very, very poor, as we all have seen. However, most of the restraining factors that have kept us in this position over the years, such as low broadband penetration, high cost of access, poor or inadequate data center infrastructure, high latency to data centers, poor or inadequate regulation around data privacy and information security, are now being largely addressed. As such, this webinar is timely, providing us with a forum to answer some pertinent questions that we hope can accelerate cloud adoption and put Nigeria and Africa on the map. Right, some of these questions include: what policies can the government, can NIDA put in place to accelerate local cloud adoption? What can the local service providers like Layer 3 do to grow the confidence of the local market and position ourselves to be the preferred rather than having the market patronize foreign companies all the time? How can we get to the point where the local demand for data center services driven by cloud is so high that local data center providers don't have to build their business cases centered around possible patronage from the hyperscalers alone, which are mainly foreign companies? How can we keep the bulk of the funds being spent on foreign public cloud services by Nigerian enterprises, which Zalam Analytics estimates to be over $69 million in 2020 alone. And this is expected to grow, to rise annually in country, considering the current tough FX regime that we're experiencing in Nigeria. Is it possible, right? This is a very challenging question, but is it possible to have a future where an African company can also be regarded as a hyperscaler? Where can we get to the point where an African cloud company can also be regarded as a hyperscaler due to its dominance in cloud service and large share of the cloud market? In recent years, we have seen the likes of Uganda harness cloud adoption to boost their economies and empower their citizens. Cloud adoption in Africa is on the rise, but obviously not as swift as it should be due to the factors that are outlined previously. So today presents an opportunity for us to look into these factors, to look at the role our government can play, to study the opportunities available to us through cloud adoption, and to hear from you with your vast experience and knowledge of this field. For every transformation and revolution, there are bound to be challenges acting as inhibitors to change and growth. The first approach in problem solving is the acknowledgement of the problem itself. The next course of action is understanding this problem. We all present in this session might be a drop in the pond, but we hope this session will be a huge drop, strong enough to create a ripple effect strong enough to promote the importance of Africa's indigenous cloud service providers and their role in the future of the African cloud. So thank you again for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful and productive time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Oyaje Doko, CEO of Layer 3. Nicely put. I mean, you've been there from the very beginning of the industry, and you've tried to work hard to build and add value to the digital economy. The reality is that all the challenges that you mentioned are there, but thankfully they are being tackled. We hope we'll get to a point where companies like Layer 3 would actually hold majority of the cloud platforms that the country requires and startups require. So thank you very much for that keynote. Moving quickly. So to the audience, I know you can't see everyone here, but I can tell you that we have close to 100 participants at the moment. So like we always say on online webinars, feel free to drop your name, do a quick introduction on the chat group, just say hello, I see one from Khaled, from in-country data residency solution, and he says happy to be here. So feel free to drop where you are and your company and your name. That would be awesome. So at this point, I'd like to call on the Director General of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, Inua Kashifu Abdullahi, who is represented by the essay on digital transformation, to speak on the topic of data localization and its benefits to the Nigerian economy. NITDA plays a very pivotal role in this digital transformation that we hope to see happen in this country. And so I call on the DG to share with us his keynote speech. DG, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Fred. The CEO of Layer 3 Cloud, Mr. Oyaji Idoko, other panelists and participants, good afternoon. Before I continue, my DG really wanted to be part of this event. However, due to some other official commitments, he's unavoidably absent. He needs to be with the Vice President at the moment. So I'm here on his behalf to deliver his keynote speech. And it goes. I'm delighted to participate in this event and to discuss data localization and its benefits to the Nigerian economy. This event indeed is timely because of what we've gone through, that is the COVID pandemic, which has accelerated digital transformation globally. According to an October 2020 survey by McKinsey, the pandemic accelerated the digitization of customer interaction by several years, with a global adoption acceleration of 3 years. Consequently, the world has witnessed a significant shift in the way we do business, and from indication, this change will continue to accelerate. The increasing virtual collaboration and remote working in the new normal have ensured that data center demand remains strong. Furthermore, cloud computing has continued to transform the design and deployment of data centers. Therefore, it is essential that we continuously seek ways to derive more infrastructural investments in our data hosting services, especially the cloud infrastructure. This to succeed in our digital transformation journey and our economic growth and prosperity. As the saying goes, data is the new oil, and today's global digital economy's lifeblood. As such, economic value of data increasingly shift in the digital economy. Accordingly, according to a report by International Data Corporation, IDC, which says data will grow globally from 45 zettabytes in 2019 to over 175 zettabytes by 2025. This growth indicates the phenomenal speed at which data proliferation across our digital world is accelerating and underscoring the significance of data. It also shows why adequate measures must be taken on where and how data is stored and processed to unlock its potential value and ensure privacy and security. I want to call your attention to the many debates on the benefits of data localization or data residency as related to the economic growth. In contrast to several arguments that data localization will cut off access to global cloud services and hamper business growth, I believe that it has far more significant benefits and will ensure our local data centers development, create jobs, facilitate compliance with our data security and privacy regulations. NIDA, as Apex IT regulator in Nigeria, has issued the Nigerian Cloud Policy in August 2019. It is the first policy direction concerning cloud technology adoption in Nigeria and a critical step to drive greater integration of cloud services in the public sector. It aims to promote a better approach to infrastructural investments and efficient IT deployment. The NCCP seeks, among other things, enable the public sector access to cloud computing and cloud-enabled technologies for continuous development and innovation in the public service delivery. Additionally, one of the goals of the NCCP is to ensure a 30% increase in adoption of cloud computing by 2024 among federal public institutions and small and medium enterprises, providing digital-enabled services to the government, as well as a 35% growth in cloud computing investments. The NCCP essentially provides a migration framework for the public sector to adopt cloud services while ensuring a proper balance between local requirements, privacy, security, and national data intellectual property. The guideline for national content development in ICT of NIDA also provides hosting to all sovereign data within Nigeria. This guideline aims to provide the required investments and build capacities for the indigenous data and information management services. As a result, the Nigerian economy will make significant gains by creating jobs and reducing capital flight due to foreign cloud service adoptions. At this juncture, it is pertinent to note that efforts of NIDA on localization of government data, which have yielded far-reaching results with over 90% of federal government data hosted externally now repatriated to Nigeria. Substantial data assets belonging to the federal government ministries, departments, and agencies such as the bank verification number BVN, the SIM registration, hosting of over 40 million and 95 million subscribers data respectively are now hosted within the country. Other databases hosted locally include the National Identity Number NIN, the Integrated Tax Administration System, the Government Integrated and Financial Information Management System, the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, as well as the Treasury Single Account. The localization of these critical national data assets will not only promote development and deployment of robust and scalable data center infrastructure in Nigeria, but it will also further enable our technology innovation companies to harness the big data. It will also promote the development of cutting-edge innovation solutions to provide insights for policy planning and development. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the NCCP of NIDA have spelled out numerous advantages of cloud computing while also addressing challenges with its adoption and issues around privacy concerns, vendor lock-ins, and security. As we emphasize data localization, particularly sovereign data, our local data hosting services must continue to explore innovative ways to ensure that clients' data hosting requirements are fulfilled. This localization will also ensure patronage, aid digitization of processes, scaling resources for the clients, while also spurring activities that will significantly contribute to our economic growth. I would like to leave you here and thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG, for that information. Thank you very much. I mean, hearing this speech this afternoon just tells one there's hope, right? It means that if we do the right thing, we have the capacity, we have the people and the resource to make things happen despite the challenges. So thank you for that keynote address. Yes, I see right now we've crossed to well over 110 people on this event, seminar, webinar. Feel free to drop your name and your business or your company on the chat group, and also we'll be taking questions after the panel. So you'll also be able to use the chat to ask questions, and I'll try to take as much as possible. All right. So without further ado, let me call on Guy Zibi, who will be giving us the second keynote. Right away, he'll be giving us the second keynote. And the title of this keynote is The African Cloud Landscape, Growth and Obstacles. Guy, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Awesome. We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chukwuemeka. Quite a pleasure to be here. If you please give me a second, I'll be sharing a couple of slides, actually. So that will just take a second. Okay, so thank you again for the introduction, and I would like to thank you all for that. I mean, it's a privilege to be here, really amongst friends and colleagues. We know your time is precious, so we certainly appreciate the opportunity to come in and discuss the development of cloud services in Africa and in Nigeria in particular. As Chukwuemeka said, my name is Guy Zibi. I'm the principal analyst with Salam Analytics. I will say a few words, but before I do, perhaps just a quick word on Salam for those of you who may not be familiar with us and with our work, and also to provide a little bit of context for some of the insights that I'm going to be sharing. We are a research and advisory firm. We are focused on digital infrastructure markets, in emerging markets in particular. So Africa and the Middle East are really our core theaters of activities. We provide a lot of the data, the research, and the insights that support investment, business, and operation in digital infrastructure and services markets. So a lot of our research focuses on the economics and the transformation of Africa's internet infrastructure. So that includes the impact of hyperscale infrastructure, data centers, private and public cloud. So you can see kind of where our participation here is quite apropos. I'll keep it short. I'll try to keep it short so we can get to the panel and really get the great insights from the panel. But I'll make three key points, if I may. some of which I'm sure will not be all that earth-shattering to many of you that are listening and watching. The cloud is here in Africa. The cloud is hard. It's hard to execute, and in the long run, our strong belief and perspective is that the cloud is going to be predominantly local. So let's take that piece by piece, if we may. So first, the cloud is here. There was a time when speaking of cloud services in Africa might have been somewhat esoteric, like you speak of some of these glitzy new technologies that you may see others use, but which seem far too removed from your own reality in some way. But do not be mistaken. Over the past few years that we've been exploring, the use of cloud services in Africa, we have seen banks, government agencies, academic institutions, startups, really all types of organizations, accelerating the adoption of various types of cloud-based applications. Our perspective is that the great migration, towards the cloud is underway in Africa. There are very few other segments of the African ICT market in our assessment, which have the potential, of adding more than $1 billion to the top line, $1 billion in revenue to the top line over the next 5 years or so. If you combine public cloud, private cloud, data center colocation services, those are really some of the fastest growing segments in the African ICT marketplace. And there are really very few other segments that stand to impact Africa's capacity, productive capacity, and competitiveness in such a fundamental way. So the cloud is here in different shapes and forms, but if you are not doing it, you can be assured that your competitor is doing it. So how African enterprises using cloud services? We have been talking to corporate customers across Africa to get a feel for this. And, over the years, we've been kind of talking to companies, running a few surveys. And there was one we ran late last year. There is some of the results of which I'm happy to share here. So we see a few things, really. One is high levels of awareness among corporate customers of cloud services and what the cloud is. Two is kind of high level of usage of basic cloud services and applications. And obviously, a lot of that was very turbocharged by the COVID-19 pandemic that really pushed more enterprises to accelerate this type of adoption. We are seeing moderate to high level of migration of workloads, from on-premise to various forms of cloud platform. I mean, it's still relatively low, so we are seeing relatively low but growing migration of workloads also to the public cloud. So that's still kind of the smallest piece. So when you look at where corporate users kind of currently and still host the applications, we again see that most of the applications are still kind of predominantly hosted on-prem. We are seeing increased movement towards hosting off-prem in the private cloud, either in an externally hosted platform or in a data center colocation type setup. And we are seeing, as I was mentioning, some movement towards the public cloud, but a lot of that remains concentrated around office collaboration and productivity applications, like the Zoom facility that we are currently using on this call. So the cloud is here, to be sure, but it is quite hard to deploy. It is quite hard to execute. And this is our second point. Now, the cloud journey is complex everywhere, but there are some factors that make it especially difficult in the African context. And to understand why the cloud is hard, it is useful to explore what makes customers want to migrate to the cloud in the first place. Now, some of these forces are systemic. as you can see here, you have African customers becoming highly digital, and they need to be reached in new digital ways, ideally. The competition is more agile. There's really an explosion in the number of new digital tools that cloud platforms are bringing into the market, and then obviously the COVID-19 pandemic really accelerated this need to transform. And when you talk to enterprises about why they are migrating, what drives the decision to allocate the budget and get the process started on a migration of workloads to the private cloud or to public cloud, the reason you get really eminently practical, as you will see on the right here. It's a system stability and availability. This may be taken for granted, really, in more mature, technology environment. But what we see is that there's a real yearning for system stability in Africa. With knowing that your workload is going to be there when you're trying to access it. So that's one. Security is another key driver of demand for cloud services. The number of DDoS and other types of security attacks has increased over the years, and organizations really want a more credible approach to a more structured approach to addressing kind of security issues, and cloud is seen as something that can help. Scalability. This is really where digital user growth is really becoming a challenge, because enterprises need a way to ramp up capacity to meet demand and growth in traffic, and to be able to ramp it up and down as needed and in a flexible way. And then the last one is app development time. Enterprises need to be able to kind of develop applications and do so in a flexible way. And again, the cloud is seen as a way to help achieve that. So the bottom line really is that companies are seeing their environment kind of shifting pretty fast, and they know and they understand that they need to adjust, their IT setups to be able to respond to some of those tectonic shifts that they are seeing in the environment. So they understand that they need to do it, but why are they not doing it faster? There are obstacles which help explain why the pace and the nature of African migration towards cloud services has perhaps not been as fast as it should be. The reality is that the potential of cloud services and the potential of the cloud opportunity as a whole is highly correlated to market conditions. Right. I mean, there are a number of key attributes that cloud services need to thrive, from the quality and affordability of the broadband infrastructure to the latency, how close the country or the user is to the nearest full stack data center, their compliance requirements. We look at individual countries to kind of assess to what extent some of these attributes are present in those countries. And we find three main groups of countries. We have kind of cloud leaders where the conditions are mostly positive. We have kind of cloud contenders where the potential is very strong, but they're held back by one or two significant constraints. And Nigeria generally fall kind of within this group. And there's a third group that we call cloud aspirants that are still kind of in very early stage still in terms of building the conditions for growth of cloud services. So the nature of the migration, the speed of the migration is very much impacted by all of this and by where one is operating. But even in some of the more advanced markets here, you see some of the reasons why some companies are not moving as fast as as they would like to. The biggest concerns are around system performance, again, security, again, integration with existing systems, and then obviously you have concerns around data sovereignty. We talked about, and then compliance and cost. Those are some of the challenges that companies are seeing as they try to migrate towards cloud services. So ultimately, because of all these differences, the migration patterns are extremely varied. We often think, and we used to think of this this digital journey as a broad movement, and at some level, I mean, it still is. But first and foremost, I mean, these are highly individual kind of company-specific journeys. I mean, it's a complex decision tree. Right? It's based on the nature and the maturity of the market. Right? It's based on the available infrastructure, the type of industry that the company is in, the internal company constraints, kind of budget, staffing, and so on. So it's a migration that ultimately takes place at the workload level, workload by workload. So it's what we're seeing. I mean, our research has shown that we have about 50% of companies that are not planning to migrate their legacy applications over the next 2 years. So they are looking to keep some of their core loads on premises. But then you have a balance of about half of the companies that are looking to migrate in some form. About half of that half, if you will, that will lift and shift, move the workloads into a hosted cloud environment, either in a data center colocation facility or in a private hosting type setup. And then you have another 20 to 30% that are looking to do a full re-architecting and replacement of their legacy workload into the public cloud. But most companies that do migrate will adopt some form of hybrid approach to migration. Again, as I was saying earlier, I mean, the cloud is here, and if you're not doing it, you can be assured that in some form, your competitor is doing it. And then to close it out, just our last point. So the cloud is here, the cloud is hard, but we also firmly believe that in the end, the African cloud will have to be local predominantly. This means more localized and regionalized, connectivity and data center infrastructure. It means that cloud services must meet local compliance requirements and really be fine-tuned to address local constraints, like Forex, and even just localized levels of customers trust. And it means that the role of the local managed service provider is going to be quite vital if this is going to work. We do not see cloud services in Africa as a space where hyperscale global cloud providers are going to come in and entirely dominate everything. I think it's a lot more complex than that. I mean, there are segments of the marketplace that will need to be best addressed by local providers. And our survey showed that there are some unique benefits that local providers are bringing to the market. So we see their role, and we think that it will be absolutely essential to the development of cloud services. So the cloud is here. The cloud is hard. But the cloud is going to be local ultimately. So I'll stop there. I appreciate your attention, and I certainly look forward to discussing that a little bit more with the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you very much, Guy. Obviously a numbers guy, amazing. The cloud is here. It's here to stay. It's here with us, right? Thank you for that. I found it very interesting. We'll move quickly. Just to ensure we save time. I'd like to call on all the panel members. But before the panel session, let's play a short video, a short video less than about a minute. If the video is on, please cue the video. Let's go. All right. No sound on this side. No sound. Victoria, no sound. Okay. Victoria, maybe you want to, okay. There's no sound.
The fee has grown continuously over the years to provide a whole suite of business services, to provide access services. We built fiber infrastructure in Lagos and Abuja that allows us to connect branch offices. We built managed services offering and provide best-in-class support services. We have a computing and storage portfolio of services that allows us to provide stable, secure environment for customers to host their workloads. We offer disaster recovery services. We offer a virtual environment for customers to manage their workloads. We also have a security product that allows us to manage network infrastructure security for our clients, as well as cybersecurity. What we do is providing the tools to enable businesses grow.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for that short video. It just tells you about the fact that, Layer 3, it's a growing entity ready to serve the Nigerian cloud community and beyond. So on this note, let's jump straight into the panel session. I'd like to call on my very good friend and mentor and colleague, Ayotunde Koka, Managing Director, Rack Center. Next, I'd like to call Rob Yates of First Distribution based out of South Africa. Welcome, Rob. Also joining the panel is Oyaje Idoko, the CEO of Layer 3. And then Guy Zidi, founder, Xlam Analytics. And then finally, representing the DG of NITDA on this panel is Aminu Lawal. Welcome, everyone. If you can just turn on your video in 1 minute, okay, so let's jump straight into the questions. I just look at the time now. Okay, so I'll start with Ayotunde Koka. Welcome, everyone. And again, maybe you take 30 seconds or 1 minute to just talk a bit about what you're doing at Rack Center. But then you can now take the question, your thoughts on the growth of cloud in Africa.
Okay, CFA, great to see you, and hello everyone, fellow panelists and other participants on this webinar. Delighted to be here, it's a real honor. Now, we've had some very good data. Before I do that, let me introduce myself as Ayotunde Koka. I'm Managing Director, CEO of Rack Center. Rack Center is the leading carrier-neutral data center provider in West Africa. It's the largest carrier-neutral provider in West Africa. Features a really comprehensive ecosystem of partners like Layer 3 and other ISPs and carriers. And we host the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria. So that's us, we're cloud neutral. And so we have, we do not compete with our partners, either in the carrier space, ISP space, or cloud space. And we work very closely with our partners to collaborate to drive growth, where we see synergies and common benefit in doing that. Now, my view with respect to cloud in Africa, what Guy said actually, it points quite well to what the potential is for growth. We don't have many leader countries. I think Nigeria being a contender is absolutely on the cusp of significant growth for a reason. There are many growth drivers that exist right now and continue to strengthen in time. The mobile telephony companies have shown that if you get the business model right, Africa is ripe for growth. Key in his analysis also always indicates something. The 1% of data center infrastructure is what we have. Global data center infrastructure is what we have in Nigeria, in Africa. Africa is 17% or so of global population, but we're only about 4 or 5% of GDP. I think it's good to see it go from 4 to about 5% now. It's what I call the prosperity gap, and the gap, the headroom with which to grow into significantly. And we're seeing that in the data center space. You tend to find that colocation goes ahead of cloud adoption, as the analysis showed from Guy that people say, well, I'll outsource my colocation, lift and shift. The next thing is that they then get the confidence of that, and they see that the costs are better, the reliability is significantly higher if you pick the right partner. The next thing is to go into private cloud, public cloud, as trust expands. Now, the key growth drivers for Africa is the fact that we tend to buy things in sachets. It's a term I've used quite often. We don't buy a whole quarts of milk and stuff like that. We'll buy little bits. Or if you Nescafe, people buy little sachets of Nescafe. Cloud is the way to deliver technology in sachets, right? Now, if you look at what the mobile telephony companies have done, they've innovated so you buy your airtime as you go. And the same thing is going to happen to cloud, where the business models allow you to buy what you need as you go. It's interesting that we looked at the analysis of the corporates. Of course, the corporates will use cloud and will use cloud at scale. That's starting to happen with the office productivity and so on. I always say that quite soon you'll probably find one of the big banks in Africa. Within the next 2 years, we'll probably say we're running our entire core banking from the cloud. Now, that's going to be one hell of a breakthrough. But look at the SMEs. The SMEs are the source of scale. And once you give, and the mobile network operators who, with 4G LTE and moving into 5G, are the ones that provide a channel to market. All analysis by Cisco and all global, it's not just Africa, globally, the significant consumption channel for digital services will be the mobile phone or phablets. That the research is showing that. So our SMEs, link that to what they do with mobile telephony, get the applications that they need to run their lives, to run their businesses, how you get into the rhythm of their lives and their businesses, right? Using cloud technologies. Once you get that right, this consumption pattern is going to be huge. So it's going to be a secondary market, not a primary market for cloud. That's going to be the scale. You'll find a whole range of applications as a service, software as a service, and so on being delivered to SMEs, right? They will consume those as they go. They'll pay it on the airtime, buy the data. They'll pay for the application services on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or whatever it is. And I think systemically, that's what's going to transform economic activity to help us close that prosperity gap. So cloud technology is absolutely essential for Africa growth. In this order, right? Collocation will happen with the enterprises. Those that don't collocate will become uncompetitive. They cannot scale. The data centers go down. The competitors leave them behind. It's shown. That's what happens. Then cloud adoption. Cloud adoption happens. Enterprise scale, the SMEs will now come in and really drive the growth. I might talk about some other growth drivers later, but I'll leave it for that for now.
Thank you, Anthony Koka. Always on point. I mean, this is one topic that you love to talk about. Thank you very much. Let me jump quickly to Rob. Rob, are you here? If Rob is here,
yes, I am.
All right, Rob. Hi, Rob. You are based in South Africa, and you also have experience. What do you think are the factors hindering the growth of cloud adoption in Africa in general?
Okay, so from my experience, remember, I'm coming from an aggregation perspective. So we work with companies like yourselves. And if we look at the biggest challenges they have, I would say latency is a challenge. I would say the fact that there's no local presence with the hyperscalers. Remember, the hyperscalers are your big five, your Google Cloud Platform, your IBMs, your Microsofts, your AWS, and the likes. So there's often an issue with data sovereignty and where the data resides. But that, I'm sure, over time will change. There is a data center in South Africa, in Joburg and Cape Town. The other challenges are really a case of people understanding the cloud and what the cloud is all about. To simplify it, you know, the cloud is just a data center. Remember, you've got the private cloud and the public cloud. And I think over time, people are going to realize with COVID and the issue with shipping of tin and that sort of thing, that, you know, people aren't going to be able to get hardware kits in country. So from that perspective, you know, it will make sense to look at the cloud. Those are the main things that come to mind. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, Rob, clear enough. Let me move to Guy. Guy, what do you think about? I know you said the cloud is here often and again, but I'm curious to know how well do you think, based on the numbers that you also churned out, how do you think that the adoption of cloud would impact on the African economy? That's for Guy.
Yes, thanks for the question. that's actually one thing that we haven't run kind of specific quantitative numbers on that, but let me tell you what our firm belief is. Our belief is, and this is born out of kind of data and experience looking at companies that have adopted, cloud services to improve either their collaborative process or the industrial processes or their operations internally, how they perform, versus companies that are in the same pace that have yet to make, those same types of migration and movement. And there's definitely a competitiveness advantage, to using, cloud services in terms of reaching customers and in terms of improving efficiencies. So we actually see the adoption of cloud services across Africa as going forward one of the key determinants in kind of improving the productivity gap and economic competitiveness of Africa relative to the rest of the world. We are concerned and worried that gap may be getting wider as other regions adopt cloud services a lot faster than African countries. But what we are seeing, and if you kind of go back to the map that I had earlier, is that we are going to see a gap within Africa itself, in our opinion, kind of between those countries that are accelerating that movement in terms of adopting cloud services and those that are behind for one reason or another. So cloud has a direct impact on individual organizations, in our view. And then if you take that in aggregate, I mean, it stands to reason that they will have an impact on the economy as a whole. So that's what I would say on that in answer to your question.
Okay, thank you, Guy. That was spot on. Let me call on the rep of the Director General, Aminu Lawal, to tell us. I mean, you've listened to what Guy said. I talked about. I know you mentioned a bit about it, but what are some of the specific ways or other specific ways that government is trying to use policy to encourage adoption of cloud? Is Aminu there?
I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Fred. I've rightly said in the speech in the DG speech, what the government is doing is to provide or develop enabling policies and guidelines that will enable these data centers grow. It's one of the main things, as I earlier said, the NCCP, which is the National Cloud Policy Computing Policy, has already been provided since August 2019. And this policy provides or mentions the advantages and necessary steps for cloud data centers. Another thing we are keen about is the Nigerian content development also. What the Office of Nigerian Content Development does is to collaborate or find ways to promote local content. I'm not talking about data centers in the country alone. We're talking about general content, local content in the country, to see how it can be promoted for the benefit of the country as a whole. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does, straight to the point. Let me quickly bring in our host, Oyaje Idoko, to share with us what are the ways. I mean, Layer 3 has been in this, providing this cloud service for quite a while now. And it will be interesting to know how Layer 3 has been able to effectively deliver solutions despite the challenges and the obstacles towards cloud adoption in Nigeria. Yaje, you want to share with us some of your experiences?
Thank you, CFA. Yeah, just like you said, well, Layer 3 as a company is about 15 years old. We ventured into the cloud journey just about 3 years ago. Also in line with the NIDAS policy around data residency, right? At the time, of course, I believe Nigeria wasn't ripe for the kind of services we're providing now, but thanks to Rack Center and Ayotunde Koka for providing the Tier 3 data center which we are able to operate from. Because, you know, these were some of the major challenges really that has, you know, inhibited the growth of cloud, right? People were not so sure about the reliability of the services. We're not so sure about security. We're not so sure about, you know, power. But I mean, these are things that, you know, working with the likes of Rack Center, we have been able to overcome, right? So layer three, through layer three cloud has been quite deliberate about providing a world-class solution, right? We're about the only company that is operating two availability zones. So running cloud services from Abuja as well as Lagos from Rack Center, right? I saw a comment from Alexander talking about how have we been able to deal with security, right? Layer 3 has two ISO certifications, ISO 27001, and we are the only ISO 27017 cloud security certified cloud provider in Africa, right? Not to mention, of course, our PCI DSS certifications, as well as our recently concluded audits for the National Data Privacy Regulation from NCC, right? So to a large extent, you know, leveraging our experience over the past 15 years as a systems integrator, as a broadband service provider, and providing efficient, excellent support, right? We have been able to overcome most of the fears, right, which customers ordinarily proud to now had about you know, patronizing cloud service providers. You know, due to our interconnection with the internet exchange point, every customer can access our service via about, you know, a single digit latency from every ISP in Nigeria, right? So you cannot get that performance using a hyperscaler. I mean, the minimum you get is about, you know, 100, you know, 3 digits, 100 milliseconds. Not to mention our local support. I mean, we're here, we understand the market, we allow you to pay in local currency, and I mean, basically, we take all the burden of you. So it's been, I think, for our customers especially, it's been a wonderful ride so far, and we hope to continue to improve on what we have been doing to, you know, make us comparable with any other service provider in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Oyaji. Nice one to you and your team. Good job. Let me say that if you're in the audience and you have a question, please use the question and answer feature on Zoom. We'll take a question. And maybe at this point, I should just even jump into the question. Let me throw one to the rep of the DG NITDA. And the question is from Lance. And the question says, what are the data privacy laws that have been localized? You want to share more on that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Fred. We already have a national data protection NDPR, national data protection regulation already in the already provided for by NITDA, and that regulation states that the processing of the data of individuals as Nigerians in the country or abroad should be treated according to that regulation. So in terms of data regulation, we already have a localized regulation that will guide the processing of data all over the world. Nigerian data, if I may say so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I have some questions already, but let me ask, let me throw this one to Ayotunde. And this one is around what policies you think would accelerate cloud adoption and local data residency in Nigeria?
One, having a policy is one thing. Making sure it's adhered to is the second thing. And we have policies, and the key thing is to make sure that it is demonstrably adhered to, and that would be very important indeed. That would actually make more companies take it very, very seriously, much quicker to make sure that they host their data locally. You know, there's some other practical reasons as well that would drive this anyway. is that, as Oyaje said, there's a latency issue. And, you know, it's a real issue. Latency is the time it takes data to go where it's hosted elsewhere and come back into Africa. And there are quite a lot of companies and SMEs in Africa that will host abroad, actually. And with that, you know, Gaze also said, I mean, that there's a complementary coexistence that's been shown elsewhere in the world of local cloud providers and some of the hyperscalers. The hyperscalers will come, you know, in South Africa, you find that anchor points in Kenya and Nigeria, they will do in time. But the practical reasons are there in that you need customer intimacy, you need responsiveness, you need lower latency. And by plugging into some of the infrastructure that you have, say with the carrier neutral player, for instance, you know, we didn't really have previously, before, say, Rack Center coming on board, we didn't have a tier 3 certified, constructor facility certified, carrier neutral ecosystem, exchange points, scalable in the country. We didn't. Now we do. And, you know, so you have the baseline that's been put in for cloud services locally to host and know that that aspect of quality and scalability and interconnectivity and exchange connection for low latency has been taken care of. Once that happens, then the adoption will start to grow. And the other thing actually with the regulators is this: if you have policies and you're not quite sure that locally you have the capacity and the ability to deliver to those policies, you're less likely to be very, very assertive in the way you enforce them. But once those things have been done and demonstrably you show you have the quality locally, then you can very, very confidently go and enforce the policies you have. You see, because if you don't, if you enforce the policies and it falls over, people say, well, you see, you're enforcing the policies, we don't have what's local. But once you have what's local and it demonstrated, I mean, it's what we do, right? It's one of the strongest brands in Africa now, with global recognition, with the kind of awards that are international awards. So it's demonstrable, 100% uptime. So regulators can then very, very confidently regulate and insist. But as I said, there are also other practical reasons that will drive cloud adoption locally as well. And we combine these things, it gives the trust to companies. I mean, chief executives have to make the right decisions for their companies. And with these things coming together, you have the quality and the trust, then they're more likely to make local cloud adoption decisions.
Thank you, Yotunde. Always interesting to hear you talk about this. Let me quickly ask Rob. Rob, if you can hear me, what factors should organizations consider when deciding on a local cloud or data center partner?
Okay, thanks for the question, Fred. So, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So, I think at the end of the day, it's all about the service offering. So I would say, you know, does the cloud provider understand your business? Do they know what it is that you need, your pain points? Well, there's a lot of background noise. I think someone, can you guys hear me clearly? Because it sounds garbled on my side.
Yeah, we need to mute everyone that's not talking. Victoria, can you mute the mic?
All right, thanks. So Rob, please start afresh, Rob.
Okay, sure, no problem. Can you guys hear me clearly now? Because there's still like a slight background noise.
It's good.
I can hear you clearly, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Yep. So what I would say is that when it comes to choosing a cloud provider, definitely see, does the cloud provider understand your business? Do they understand your pain points? Do they speak to what it is that you're looking for? Because often when you're shopping around for a cloud provider, you know your business and you want to be able to continue and run your business regardless and have the faith in the cloud provider that you are working with. So really it's a case of, Do they have the managed service offerings? Do they have the professional service that might be needed to onboard you as an end customer? What are the SLAs? What are the turnaround times? How is it billed? Do you pay for the infrastructure up front? Or is there a subscription model or a rental model? That sort of thing. And then also what's important is reporting, maintenance, monitoring, management. Is that all in place? Can you as an end customer request from your cloud provider at any time a footprint of how is the environment, what is going on? Are there any points of concern, be it a power supply or be it a motherboard, memory, hard drive space, that sort of thing. So I would definitely do the research and make sure that whoever you go with for your cloud provider speaks to all those points.
Thanks, Rob. Now I'm just going to face the Q&A segment for a while. We've got just about 10-15 minutes to wrap up, and I'll try to keep to that time. Let me throw this one at Guy. Guy Collins is asking, how does the cost compare to fragmented smaller users services like OneDrive, G Drive, etc., or are these concentrated on corporate clients for now? I think that question, how does the cost compare to, I think Oyaje should take that question maybe, because I think this is directed at Oyaje's comment. Oyaje, you want to attempt this question?
Yeah, I can, yeah. Well, yeah, I think, yeah, thanks, Collins, for that question. I believe customers that fall into the category of those that will be patronizing, OneDrive and co, probably may be different from customers that fall into the category that require actual cloud services. Because, right, the cloud services come with a lot more features compared to, accessing the likes of OneDrive, Box, Dropbox, and co. I mean, you have lots of services layered on your storage solutions, which is basically what these other guys offer. So it's hard to make a comparison, right? So the typical individual may find those services suitable. Of an SME or a corporate, definitely that won't serve. So it's going to be very hard to make a comparison between both services. Thank you, Collins.
Yeah, the truth about it is that at the end of the day, the numbers are very important. So, the more numbers that you guys have, then the more you can do stuff around it. So yeah, brighter days ahead. Let me ask Guy this question, because when I read that one again, I said, no, this should be for Oyaje, not Guy. Guy, this question actually has Nigeria in it, but I just wanted you to also share your thoughts on this, and it's on cost effectiveness. It says something about securing a cloud service in Nigeria is more expensive. This is from Akim. It's more expensive compared to their counterpart abroad. Reviewing this will increase patronage as some of us will stop running the foreign providers. Guy, from your experience, what do you think about this question?
Listen, I mean, comparing pricing on different services is always, I mean, as a customer, it's something that one is always going to do. I think what I'll say is that it's difficult to do kind of like for like comparisons of individual services. Even something as basic as storage, often comes with a number of different considerations. So I'll say that it's entirely fine to run cost comparisons between kind of local providers and international providers, but it's also similarly important to really fully account for all the elements of cost. If you host abroad, issues around latency, issues around availability of bandwidth, issues around kind of capacity, issues around kind of security, and if you are an organization that is subject to to some type of kind of local data residency laws, and you need to comply with those. Those should be a consideration as well. So, there are a number of things that kind of come into play when you look at different services and you compare different services, and depending on the organization, something that in Naira term or in US dollar term kind of looks cheaper abroad, effectively is not necessarily cheaper when you take into account all those elements that that I mentioned. So it's entirely fine to run comparisons, but it's significantly as important to account for all the do a total cost analysis to get kind of the true cost of the service that you are using. I would say that.
Thank you, Guy. Ayotunde, I'd like you to take on this question. It's well, the last part is directed at government, but I know how hard you have worked. You and your team at RAC Center have worked to build confidence and also improve data security. So this question says, from Olushola, says, data security and confidence in cloud business stand out in all the questions customers asked when the services speak to them in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. What deliberate actions do you think should be taken to build confidence for such service uptakers? Shola, from Shola, please go ahead.
It's track record, right? We've been operating at RAC Center now, coming up to around about 8 years by Q3 this year. And we've had 100% uptime. We have 10 levels of security. We're certified to internationally recognized standards, Tier 3 certification, ISO 9001, 27001, 22301 for business continuity, and we continue to sustain it. People coming and look at what we do and they say, wow, I can't believe I'm in Africa, and then it's okay, with an attitude almost. We say, we can demonstrate that we're as good as anywhere else in the world, and we are, from, like I said, some of the awards. So track record is very, very important, right? Also, that's the underlying data center now. The cloud services layer on top of that. The key thing, and quite a few years ago, about 8 years ago, there was a breach on one of the global cloud services. The entire industry came together to make sure that it was almost like a self-regulating standard of reliability, because if you do that and you damage trust, you damage your market. So it's incumbent on cloud providers, therefore, if they're going to survive, to make sure they're almost like self-regulating. It's almost like the restaurants in the corner of the street, right? If there's a problem, forget your sort of NAFDAC and so on, they'll lose all their customers. So they're almost self-regulating. So that in its own will demonstrate the fact that you have to have reliability. And as Oyaje said, they've got the certifications that give customers you don't get these certifications if you don't earn them. And they are internationally recognized, indisputable evidence of how you comply to certain fundamental ways of doing business. And if we demonstrate those things, why don't we deserve to be considered in the same light as all of the international providers? Because it's just as good. One of the reasons that we set the bar in Africa by being the first data center provider to be Tier 3 constructor facility certified was we wanted an indisputable, globally recognized standard. You might say, whatever standard, whatever, but one globally recognized, indisputable standard of quality. And we comply with that. We meet those standards. So if you do this, that means, therefore, you must have the confidence that locally delivered technology is as reliable as you would get elsewhere. Until there's something to the contrary, that is the fact, is a demonstrable fact. Therefore, you should be confident to patronize local colocation providers like ourselves, patronize local cloud providers. And you tend to find cloud providers tend to be complementary, right? There's certain strengths that they have, and they can actually be complementing in a local sense. And the more we provide and patronize our local providers, the more they're able to grow, and the more it actually grows the local economy. Just a quick one. Research has shown that for every dollar, right, spent on data center infrastructure, the economic ecosystem impact is $100 million. It's 100 times, right? So if you were, for instance, spending $10 million, $50 million on core data center and cloud infrastructure, your economic impact is in billions. Let's bring those billions to Africa.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love this. Oyaje, I'm going to send the last question to you. After that, each panel member will just take 1 minute to sort of round it up. Ayodele is asking from Galactic Backbone, is saying that for you specifically, he says, what measures has Layer 3 put in place to ensure that there is a seamless vendor integration for delivering and managing cloud solution of different brands under a single roof?
That's an interesting question. I wish my solutions architect was here to take that question. Yeah, however, one thing is clear, Layer 3 Cloud is a VMware verified. That's one of the certifications we have, which is basically the same as, for most of the hyperscalers and the biggest cloud providers in the world, we have the same kind of certifications we have as well. We have ensured that our cloud platform is designed based on the vendor agnostic, platform, able to, cater to every customer requirement, knowing that every customer is different, right? So you might have some customers that are running Microsoft hypervisors, you might have customers running VMware platforms and the likes, right? So what we have done is to put that into consideration to design a platform that can cater to practically every customer environment, and of course handhold the customer. Just like Guy said, cloud is hard, right? Especially for an environment where the journey is just starting. So we understand that customers may find it difficult to start this journey. So this is one of the advantages we bring to the market. The fact that we're local, the fact that we can walk into your office, not just relying on you to do everything remotely, right? And work with you to ensure that your transition is as seamless as possible, right? So right now we cater to, hundreds of customers that are running different kinds of platforms. And so far, to a large extent, their experience has been fantastic with wonderful feedback. So I believe we have already catered to these challenges, which we mentioned by the guy from Galaxy Bank. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. I'm looking at the Q&A and I'm seeing more questions, and I'm looking at the time. I know people will have to jump back to work, so I want to try and keep the time. So some of these questions, we'll take them offline and answer them, but now okay, so maybe during the closing statement, Ayotunde can take the one on a stable power supply. It's essential to run a cloud service, which is very expensive. How can this gap be bridged? Maybe Ayotunde can take that, and then Guy can take, okay, no, so this is also Oyaje. Can you speak about your account management structure and support towards okay, you know what? Let's take this one round of questions. Okay, so let's take this one round of questions, and then we'll call it a day. So guys, so there are 3 questions here. We have 5 panelists. I'd like 2 people to send 1 question each, so we will have 5. And then we can round up. So if you have any questions, please drop your question. We have 3 now. So let me start with Rob. Rob, I'd like to take this question. It talks about VMware. Well, I'm not sure we should take that, but hey, we have a VMware powered cloud and Azure stack, which is better. I heard it's a provider with an Azure stack in country. I don't know. Rob, you want to take that quickly?
Yeah, it's not really ever a case of which is better. Each has their place, and it's really a case of what it is that you're looking for. Remember, when we're talking the cloud, we're talking about something as a service. So you need to look at yourself and decide, right, what is it that you're looking for? Is it compute? Is it networking? Is it storage? Is it management as a service? And you need to think to yourself, which vendor supplies the best solution to what you're looking for. And it's not only from a vendor perspective. If you're speaking to the likes of Layer 3, does Layer 3 understand your business? Can they position the technology in a way that works best and fits best for you? So that's the simple answer I would give to that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rob. Thanks for
Sure.
that. Oyaje, this question says, can you speak to your account management structure and support towards customers in general? What do you do to ensure responsiveness from your team towards inquiries and managing SLAs? Even with large providers, there are times challenges that we see with ensuring a constant level of support. Thanks, Mariam from State Street Bank and Trust. You're muted, Oyaje.
Sorry about that. So thanks, Mariam, for that question. Layer 3, as you know, a lot of our customers know, we have always prided ourselves as having very serious interest in our customer satisfaction. So customer support has been one of the things that have driven Layer 3's success and growth over the years, right? So we've put in place a very effective structure, both from the sales through account management to the technical system, right? We run a 24/7 support center, which operates out of Abuja here, but with global visibility over all our customers' network and environments, right? And our SLAs are very well drafted, of course, with collaboration from the customer, right? Because this is not just for us, but it's about the customer. So running on our platform, we understand you are putting your workload under our responsibility, and we can't afford any outage, any downtime, which is why we have 2 availability zones, one in Lagos from running out of Rack Center and one running out of our facilities here in Abuja, providing availability 24/7 and 100% availability, providing backup if for any reason one fails, we ensure that you don't have any outage, right? Then our engineers are on ground, right? So if these are problems that we can't perform remotely, you know, it's easy for us to quickly dispatch our engineers to work with you. So to a large extent, I think we'll build a system, right, which has provided to a large extent comfort and satisfaction to our customers through the entire business chain. Thank you.
Thank you, Oyaje. Let me, so I see the conversation between Collins and Jacob, but Collins, I think Jacob's question is very valid. And I'll throw this question to Ayotunde, because, you know, when I went to Rack Center, one time I visited and I saw the sort of power infrastructure that is there, then I'll know that the question by Jacob is actually apt. And the question says the stable power is very essential to run a cloud service, which is quite expensive in Nigeria and African countries due to blah, blah, blah. How can this gap be bridged without shooting up the service charge on processing customers? Ayotunde, please take that.
Yes. Power is fundamental, is an underlying thing. If your power is down, your data center is down, your data center is down, the businesses of your customers are down. So we really have the expertise on making sure that we have reliable power. In a way, it's actually a differentiator because it means that our customers don't have to worry about power. They, you know, what I used to be a CIO, and I didn't have the choice of proper good quality co-location. I had to think about the data center. It was incredibly distracting. I mean, just a total waste of time thinking of data center infrastructure when I'm supposed to be transforming and building value in the business. And that's what I say to CIOs now. You think you put your mind into data center infrastructure and you think you're adding value, that's going to give you your career progression. No. If you're that kind of a CIO, forget it. You won't succeed. You're distracting yourself if you have the right quality partner to host with. If you don't, then fine. Focus on the front end of the business. That's where you get reward for. Now, for us to do that, we have to absolutely focus on power. So you've talked about the power infrastructure you saw. Where, I mean, as we've scaled, we've used diesel, we have a primary, we have a secondary, we have a tertiary, and we have an architecture that allows us to mix and swap different power plants, and risk management, the enterprise risk management is a way of life. You absolutely have to live it and breathe it in terms of how you manage your power infrastructure. That's how we've been able to achieve the 100% uptime. However, as you scale, diesel becomes incredibly inefficient. And actually, it's actually sustainability issues as well if you're running that 100% of the time. So as we're now into the megawatts, right? 1.5 megawatts of IT power, we're having to generate about 3 megawatts, and we're very, very quickly moving into sort of scaling up to the 13, 15 megawatt range. We're bringing in, this is something we analyzed over the years very, very closely. We're bringing in dedicated gas infrastructure that will allow us to generate the quality of power we need for the services we deliver. And we really monitor it down to the pence per kilowatt hour and the cents per kilowatt hour produced very, very closely. And we work very closely with the partners in terms of the engineering teams and so on, how we define this power infrastructure. And it's a key competency we bring. We have to have that here. You can't just plug into utility. However, wherever you're in the world, it's actually not that straightforward for power if you're a data center provider, especially at scale. Even if you plug into the utility and you suddenly draw 10 megawatts, how many utility companies will just give you 10 megawatts just like that? They'll go down. So you have to work very closely with them to make sure that you have your power architecture at the right quality of delivery for it to meet what your requirements are. Everywhere in the world, it's horses for courses. Given the location you are in, you optimize your power infrastructure. I think for us also, it's not just about, okay, the technologies we're bringing in gas, we get a good mix of power. Sustainability is very important. We're constantly also looking at how we innovate to get better sustainability. I don't just put my hand up to say, hey, we're in Lagos, so, no. It's a very important thing for us. So we're constantly looking at how we innovate and get the right power mix of technologies as we grow to not just make sure that we have reliability, we have the right price point, but also that we have, for the environment we operate in, a sustainable mix of an energy provision.
Thank you very much. We're going to wind down now, but let me throw this last question. Okay, the last question from Symbiat. I'm going to split it into. Oh, okay. Well, so I don't see it anymore, but I was going to split that question into two. So let me just say, from the DG, who is a special guest, the rep of the DG, in 1 minute, just sort of close. In 1 minute, your closing remarks as we end. So the DG, Guy, Rob, Ayotunde, then the host. So DG, over to you.
Thank you very much, Fred. Before I close, I would like to take us a little bit backward about the question on data security and confidence. With the launching of the NDPR, the NIDA NDPR, we register what we call data protection compliance organizations that ensure that the data, how data is processed and the security of data is being audited by these organizations. This is from the government perspective, and I believe this can boost confidence on how data is processed in the country. With that, I would say thank you very much, Layer 3, for convening this important event, and thank you very much again for seeing us fit to come and contribute our own quota in the localization of data and data centers in the country. Thank you very much.
All right, Rob.
Thanks, guys. I think this has been a very important discussion. Thank you to Layer 3 for bringing it to the table. I think at the end of the day, as you guys have said, certification and experience is key. And as Olyaje said, the fact that Layer 3 is cloud verified speaks volumes. And nothing else really that I can say. I think you guys have covered everything, and a good event. Well done. Congrats.
Thanks, Rob. Guy?
Yes, same as Rob. I just want to say kind of thank you to Layer 3 and to the audience. I mean, this was a great event. I mean, I spoke, but I very much myself learned a lot from listening to all the panelists and to the great questions that were asked. So, so thanks again for the event, and I quite enjoy being here. Thank you.
All right, Ayotunde, thank you, guys. Ayotunde.
Yeah, likewise. It really has been a pleasure being here and getting the different views. Good to see Alex. Anago has been very, very active with his questions. Are you answering my questions? I believe we have, and global players will come in, but the local influence, as he's mentioned, the ability to innovate locally is very important. And that's even in looking at some providers in the US, they have local cloud that coexists with the hyperscalers and the big providers as well. You know, and delivering to SMEs, I think it's a great thing for local and global, but the local benefit is to make sure that you get your value chain right across the board. I mean, it might be partnerships with developers, it might be partnerships with telcos to deliver channel to customers. There are ways to innovate to deliver cloud services to SME, and that's where the growth will come from. So it's been a delight. Hopefully we've answered all the questions that you've asked, and thank you very much it's been great to be here, and thank you very much for everybody to be on this platform.
Thank you very much, Ayotunde. If nothing, I'm glad that someone like you is one of the leaders in this space, because your passion and enthusiasm is just so real. Thank you for what you do. To our host, yeah, you're welcome. To our host, Oyaje, the final word.
Well, thank you, CFA. Let me start with you for moderating this webinar. I think to a large extent you have brought some of the key issues to light, allowing active participation from the attendees and also the panelists. Thank you very much. Dr. Lau, thanks a lot to you and to Nida, first of all, for being here, as well as to Nida for what you are doing. Yes, having a cloud policy, but just like Ayotunde mentioned, one is to have the policy, two is to ensure that we can find a way to make the policy work. I've always thought that having a goal to have 30% of Nigerian enterprises be on the cloud in 2024 is not ambitious enough, right? I mean, we're talking about 30% in 2024, not 2021. So it's something that you may want to look at, right? Because considering how fast the world is going, why should we wait for another 3 years to achieve that goal, right? And for Ayotunde, to be honest, you have been a major force in this industry, and we truly appreciate your being here, right? Because I believe the industry is where it is today because of you, right? And just like you said, it takes pedigree. I mean, it doesn't take most certifications. 8 years, no downtime. For me, that's end of discussion, right? Because basically you have proven that yes, like every other company in the world, you're able to deliver. And we're happy to have partnered with you and hope to continue to build this partnership for the benefit of Nigerians and the market in general. And for Guy, if there is one thing Africa lacks is data, right? And I believe this is one major challenge, which you and your company is trying to solve. I would truly appreciate this because there are lots of insights which your most recent research has shown. And I believe everybody in the industry, especially the regulators, right, need to look into this to see where we are, where the world is, and how we can accelerate our growth and be at par. I mean, we cannot always continue to lag behind in Africa. It's not a given. There's no reason why we can't, be like any other developed country. We have what it takes, right? But it's just the will to make that happen. And Rob, thank you too for being here. I mean, we've worked you've worked with us as a partner. You have nurtured us, handheld us, and I believe we are where we are today because of the support which we have gotten from a company like you. And we hope that this is just the beginning that our future with you will even thrive and grow stronger. And for all the attendees, unfortunately, I can't remember all those that asked questions and all those that have participated. We truly appreciate your joining us. And it takes everybody to build the Africa, the country we want. So we continue to depend on you, your criticism, your advice, to build an industry that we all can be proud of and to take advantage of, not just today, but for the years ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Oyaje. Thank you very much. So finally, let me call on Niyi Oshibelowo to give us the manager, Cloud and Enterprise Solutions, Layer 3, to give us a vote of thanks, and then we'll call it a day. Niyi, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so this was an amazing time. My CEO has said it all. We want to say a big thank you to everyone that has joined. A big thank you to our keynote speakers, the DG of NIDA represented by the SA, and Guy Zibi of Zalam Analytics. Like the CEO had mentioned, powerful reports which your team had prepared, and a great tool in helping us as a CSP get the relevant data to target this region and build the best solution that can meet our customers' requirements. It was great hearing from the DG on data localization policies, and also from Guy on the future of cloud in Africa. Thank you also to our panelists, Dr. Koka and Rob Yates. Thank you so much for your partnership over the years. We hope to continue doing more of this in the years to come. It's because of partnership from Rack Center and from Force Distribution that we're able to do what we do. And we hope this partnership will be strengthened in the coming years. Also a thank you to our CEO for anchoring and handling a bunch of those questions and driving home the idea and the vision for Layer 3 Cloud and passing that message across during this webinar. A final thank you to our moderator, the one and only CFA. Thank you for anchoring this session. It was a great session. It has been a great session, and one final thank you to everybody that made time out to join. We know that your time is precious. We know you would, especially in these times, you have a lot of things to do with your time. So we really appreciate spending that time with us, spending this hour and a half with us, and we hope we'll see you in the next webinars. So finally, my name is Niyi Oshibelowo. I drive the vision and the strategy for Layer 3 Cloud, and we hope to see you in the next few webinars. Thank you once again, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Niyi. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, panel members. Thank you to the team behind, Victoria, Pamela, and all of you for the good job that you guys have done. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening through. Well over 130 people, 33 plus people joined. And now at the end, we have about 107 people. So thank you, everyone. The cloud is here, like Guy said. Let's all go out there and support the growth of the digital economy, because that's the future of Africa. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.